Greeted Talaferro from the TD Extra Effort, and it is Being Brown at Work Live. Yes, I'm excited as I am every week because you guys know this is my favorite time of the week. And I'm here with you solo because what I want to do is continue what I shared with you, introduced you to actually 2 weeks ago. You may remember a couple weeks ago, I talked about my methodology, the AMA method: accelerate, maximize, achieve. And a couple of weeks ago, I shared with you the accelerate portion, which is the peel back when I talked about really understanding who you are personally, what makes you tick, why you're wired, how do you think, why you think how you think, and connecting that understanding that is connected with who you are professionally. So I talked about that 2 weeks ago. And today, I want to kind of wrap up sharing with you my methodology by talking about the maximize portion. Now, yes, I did say there's three pieces: accelerate, maximize, and achieve. But the achieve is just the growth piece. It's when you do the acceleration work, when you really do that deep introspective work and you peel back, then you do what I'm going to share with you in this episode, the maximize, the growth takes place, right? You are tapped on your shoulder for opportunities to lead major initiatives. You are top of mind for people at that point. You are potentially promoted. So the growth piece, the achieve piece is what happens at the end. So I want to focus in this episode on maximize. And you might think, okay, Linda, I really don't get it. You've told me 2 weeks ago that I need to do this introspective work, and I'm doing that. I'm starting to make the connection that who I am personally, which is how I show up every day, how I see myself, I'm starting to make that connection and I'm starting to see a difference. But here's the shift. Here is where the maximization really happens, is after you've made that initial connection, you started that acceleration. You're started to push the gas pedal in your vehicle and you're starting the acceleration by really doing that peel back work I talked about a couple weeks ago. You want to now layer in, how do people perceive you? Do you really know how you're viewed? Or is it still ambiguous to you? Is there still gray areas where I think I know what they think? Of course, I know what they think. Didn't ask anybody, but I clearly know because, I've arrived and I can tell just by body language and how people interact with me. That's what's missing. That's the maximization piece. It's not necessarily how you believe people see you, but it's clearing all that gray matter away. It's taking the ambiguity away. It's actually knowing how you're perceived, knowing that there is no doubt about it. And the only way to do that is to get feedback, solicit the feedback. You guys know I believe feedback is power. And the only way to truly identify your gaps and bridge them successfully is to know what they are to begin with. How do you know what they are? Get the feedback. What is the best way to get feedback? Is 360s. Of course, you can definitely, as you're building your relationships, have those conversations with individuals. Absolutely. Right. And if you have a mentor, getting that feedback from that individual as well. But one of the best ways I have found that serves me very well in my career and serves every one of my clients, and we do this, most of my clients are like, okay, look, this I didn't know was part of the plan. And I say, yeah, you did. You just aren't ready for it and you don't want it, but we're going to do it. And that is to get a 360 and to spread that across the organization when you pick your raters above and those that are, you report to you even. That's how you know truly what your real gaps are. You take all the ambiguity away. People tell you how they experience you. People tell you how they see you. People will tell you how they perceive you. You don't have to guess anymore. And you're not walking around in your own world and drinking your own Kool-Aid, which a lot of us do, right? So it's so important if you truly want to successfully bridge your gaps and maximize your potential for your career growth, you have to do this piece. You've got to strip away the gray matter. You've got to take all the unknowns out or what you think to be true. I think that's the case. Take it away. Get that powerful information. That 360, that feedback is powerful. There's no doubt about it, it carries power. And if you're doing all that work up front, you've done your strip back that I talked about a couple of weeks ago, you're doing that introspective work and knowing who you are and why you are who you are and wired. Now it's important to understand, well, how do people see me? How do people experience me? Let them tell me what leadership gaps they believe I have and why they exist in their minds. Because keep in mind, as I've shared with you many times, no man is an island. We don't do this thing alone. You can't get from point A to point B in your career all by yourself. Does not happen that way. Does not happen that way. So whenever you fold in the input from others, right? And you take that feedback, you take that information and you bridge it by building action plans to address the gaps that has been shared with you. That's when the maximization happens. And I will tell you, one of the gaps most likely that will be identified for you, and the fact that you go through this process that I'm sharing with you is going to strengthen one of the gaps that I can guarantee you exists. And that is strengthening your emotional intelligence. Because just the fact that you've reached out and you did a 360, just the fact that you started that part of the process, that strengthens two things. That strengthens your social awareness and your relationship management. Because feedback does exactly that. How are you going to connect with individuals, build relationships if you have no idea how people experience you, perceive you, what their thoughts are of you, unless you get that feedback? You can be self aware to a certain extent, but you're completely self aware when you allow that information in from those people that you choose to be part of the 360 that's being conducted. I'm telling you, I have not seen to date a better mechanism to strip away ambiguity, to quit thinking that you think that you are, as I said earlier, drinking your old Kool-Aid, making yourself believe that you know every single thing that you need to do in order to move to the next level in your career, in order to be successful. You think you know it all. You've totally arrived. I've not seen it happen yet. I just have not seen it happen yet. And even still in my career personally, as I've shared with you many times, I have mentors. I'm just about to go into this leadership experience development program in the new opportunity that I started in January. Now, some of you may think, oh, Linda, wait a minute. You've been doing this thing for what, 30 some years? You're a vice president, major company, leading a large group globally. What? You're in this development program? Yes. Yes. One, I was nominated to be in it because the organization realizes that we never truly fully arrive. And there's always things that we can develop within ourselves. There's always growth. There's always a gap that might still be this small that I've worked on over those 30 years, but I've not truly conquered it. So I'm in what's called leadership experience in my career right now, and I welcome that. I'm excited about that additional growth. And I'm recommending to you highly, if you truly, truly want to be successful in your career trajectory, you want to be able to navigate it fully and successfully. This step and the overall methodology that I've shared so far is critically important. Another thing this does for you is it allows you to control the narrative. Once you find out what people think about you, how people experience you, and they help you identify the gaps, and then you do the work to increase your emotional intelligence, your relationship management, your social awareness, which this 360, this feedback from your mentors and other people you talk to allow you to do, you will start to control the narrative. I had an emergency call today with one of my clients to support her through some challenges that she's dealing with. Everything right now that she's dealing with is because she's not controlling the narrative. She has decided that she knows her gaps, and we've done a 360, mind you, but she's been reluctant. She's stepped back several times and gotten caught up in what she believes that she knows, irrespective of what people have told her. So therefore, she's allowing others to write the narrative for her. Write the narrative for, which is dangerous. It's totally dangerous when you do that. Good evening, Laretha. Thanks for joining. It's dangerous when you do that. You want to be control of, you want to control your narrative. Like Laretha, who's listening in now, she wants to be in control of what people believe Laretha, who Laretha is. She knows herself. She wants to be able to write that, right? So if people give her feedback and let her know, you know what, Laretha, this is how I experience you. It's just like, wait a minute, that's not who I am. Oh, wait, maybe that is who I am, and that's not a good thing, right? And I need to work on that. That's how you then take control of your career and writing the narrative, shifting the paradigm. It's extremely important. So, as I shared a couple of weeks ago, the accelerate portion, this evening, I'm talking about maximize. Excuse me, this you will do acceleration, maximize, and then you will definitely achieve, which is the last segment of my methodology. These things go hand in hand. And there's a purpose, there's a reason why I started with that acceleration portion that really peel back so you get to know truly who you are and why you are who you are. Again, I know I repeat things, but I believe in repeating. It starts to sit in who you are personally, who you are professionally. There is no difference. And just like I told you about my other client who was struggling with the narrative not being written the way she wants it to, not controlling it, it's because she keeps trying to separate those two things, which is impossible. Impossible. She is personally who she is professionally. And she will look at me in a Zoom call and say, Linda, I know. Then when it comes to actually walking in it and executing it, it can be a challenge. And I understand that. I can understand how it can be a challenge. I really understand that. So that's why for me, repeating this is so extremely important because I want you to sit in it and I want it to really resonate with you and then for you to try it. So with this episode, I'm wrapping up sharing with you my methodology. I thought it was just so important to take 2 weeks ago that session and again this session to explain to you how I do what I do with the extra effort and what's worked with me in my career, right? How I've gotten to the seats I've gotten into, how I've gotten recommended for a board position, which I recently acquired. It was this work that I did that's so critically important, particularly for Black and Brown women, which is why clearly who I am, but why I really service and focus on us, because we need to understand these things. We need to understand the nuances, right? We need to be able to confidently walk in our full authentic self. And it takes this kind of work to do that. It takes the accelerate. It takes that peel back work, that introspective work. It takes maximize, truly identifying your gaps through feedback, through 360s, being open to that information coming into you, right? And you leveraging that information. Feedback is power. I'm telling you, it's powerful. And you leveraging that information so that you can strengthen your social awareness and your relationship management, which builds your executive presence. And then I'm going to leave you with this. Once you've done that, that gives you that foundation for executive presence, that it factor that separates everybody from everybody else in the room. Hence, the achieve happens, you grow, and the trajectory of your career is exactly how you envisioned it when you first started this journey. I hope that has helped you. If there's any pieces of this from 2 weeks ago that I shared, or even, this episode, if there's any piece of it, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And Laretha, you're right. We are taught to separate the two. We are taught that. Laretha's got it. We're taught that those are two different things. Who you are personally is not who you are professionally. That stuff stays at home. You go to work to do this, that, and the other. She's absolutely right. Nuances that happen in our communities as women of color. She's absolutely correct, but they are intertwined. You're right, Laretha. And that's what's so critical to understand. That's so critical to understand. If there's any questions, any portion of what I've shared 2 weeks ago on the accelerate piece, when you peel back and do the introspective work, or this session around maximize, where you want to really, really, truly connect everything together, getting that feedback, and then doing the work to control the narrative and build your EQ. Send me a DM, send me an email. I'd love to jump on a 30-minute call with you and try to help you bridge that. Love to help you, or reply to you in email if you want to have something that you can print out and take with you. Please drop me your questions and your concerns. I'd love to help you with it. But this is critical stuff. And I will tell you this. I know that it works. I know that it works. I've seen it too many times in my own career and what I've helped others do. Okay? So until next time.